In the seconds between life and death, the brain enters a state of rapid disorientation. This liminal space acts as a corridor where the perceived environment begins to fray, distorting the boundaries of a person's immediate reality. Ramesh is a schoolteacher living a quiet, highly routine life. His world is contained within a small house, centered entirely around the predictable movements of his cat, Chinu. In Hyderabad, Anil is moving into a new apartment. The walls are freshly painted, smelling of chemicals and a clean start, showing no outward sign of the history attached to the address. Simultaneously, Kiran is driving alone on a desolate highway. The dark road stretches out before him, providing a sense of forward momentum in an otherwise empty landscape. This diagram tracks three independent paths. While they appear parallel, notice how the lines curve inward as they progress. They are being pulled toward a single glowing nexus point, a temporal coordinate labeled T0. Every movement brings these three closer to that same coordinate. They are passengers on independent paths, unaware that their individual stories are moments away from a violent, permanent overlap with total strangers. At 2 a.m., the first fracture occurs in Ramesh's home. Chinu stops moving, her eyes fixed on a corner of the living room. She remains paralyzed, staring at a space that appears empty to the human eye. 1 hour earlier, at 1 a.m., Anil hears a soft, rhythmic tapping at his apartment door. When he opens it, the hallway is vacant, yet a fresh pool of blood is already spreading across the floor. On the highway at 2:30 a.m., Karen's visibility vanishes into an unnatural fog. Out of the white haze, a lone figure appears, standing in the middle of the road and signaling for a lift. This spike represents an event of extreme physical violence. The resulting psychological energy creates a temporal bleed, with shockwaves rippling backward from the point of impact. These waves distort the perception of time and space in the minutes leading up to the trauma. The anomalies felt by these men represent a psychological echo. As the event horizon of the accident approaches, the trauma generates a shockwave that disrupts their perception of the present, forcing them to experience the fallout of their own futures. Ramesh's experience culminates with the sound of a violent crash echoing from the street. Inside the house, the atmosphere shifts instantly as he finds his cat, Chinu, dead on the floor with no visible cause of injury. A figure now occupies Ramesh's hallway. It is a man with a nearly severed head, leaning at a sharp, broken angle. The entity moves in a disjointed rhythm, dragging its feet across the wood while whispering for someone to show him the way home. In the apartment, Anil finds a woman crouched in the corner. Her hair is matted with black fluid, leaking from a deep wound in her throat. She remains fixed there, pleading for someone to release her from the room. On the highway, Kiran's car stalls as he approaches the hitchhiker. The man's face has been crushed by blunt force. Within seconds, more figures emerge from the fog, violently mangled bodies that begin to surround and press against the car windows. Kiran manages to start the engine and lurches forward, escaping into the night. When he looks back, the road is empty. He is left only with a streak of blood on his rearview mirror and a written promise of a return. These encounters share identical physical characteristics. In 3 separate locations, the witnesses describe specific, matching patterns of blunt force trauma that suggest these are not individual hallucinations, but a shared experience of the same violent event. 3 days later, the setting shifts to a brightly lit hospital ward. Ramesh, Anil, and Kiran are awake in adjacent beds, their bodies stabilized after suffering major trauma. The men attempt to compare their stories, describing the mangled figures and blood in their homes. Their accounts are interrupted by the attending physician, who presents the records of their admission. The medical logs and police reports show that none of these men were in their homes or apartments on the night of the hauntings. At exactly 2 a.m., these 3 vehicles approached the exact same intersection. The resulting pileup is where their timelines converged. As they collide, the victim's consciousness detaches, drifting across the crash site. Kiran was projected into Ramesh's mind during impact. This is the mechanism of liminal convergence. In the milliseconds of a fatal collision, the mind projects itself outward. Dying victims hallucinate the wandering souls of the strangers dying next to them, placing these strangers within the familiar context of their own homes. The hauntings were not an intrusion of the past. They were the immediate, disembodied trauma of the people suffering right beside them in the wreckage, mapped onto their final moments of consciousness. Perhaps the figures in the corner of the room are simply reflections, displaced fragments of our own consciousness, already present at the site of the next fatal intersection.